The objection of Personic against Mr. Brinkman, I assume we'll have the same motion to dismiss.
Yes, I will tender the original 3 copies to the board right now. Might I also ask the board just to state for the record why the clerk is not here tonight? I believe that because I had intended potentially to call her as a witness, that disqualified her, but I don't
Right.
think that's a record, so I just want to make sure that it's...
You want the record to reflect the clerk is not, because she's supposed to be part of this board, but there was a potential for her to appear as a witness. She recused herself.
Okay, thank
Is
you.
that fine?
That's fine. I
That's
just wanted
true
to...
with every case that's on the docket.
Ms. Kraft, I am going to ask that Mr. Aarons be dismissed from this board because I may be called on as a witness too for this procedure.
Well, we'll have to rule on that, Mr. Personic, because whether it's appropriate to, you call me as a witness is a matter for this board.
Yeah, the election code, and the law under the election code, as Ms. Kraft indicated earlier, has some specific rules on when board members are disqualified. Mr. Aarons, as the supervisor, does not have any duties under the election code with respect to the nomination petitions or the objections. So, Mr. Personic, I'll allow you to make an offer of proof, or I think the board will. I think the board will allow you to make an offer of proof as to what testimony you will elicit, what testimony relevant to your objection you will elicit from Mr. Aarons. And if you are going to offer that, you'll have to be sworn as a witness.
Okay, Mr. Aarons.
All right.
Do solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
And again, this is merely an offer of proof. This is what Mr. Personic intends, the evidence that would be that he would elicit from Mr. Aarons.
Okay, Ms. Kraft and I were discussing with Mr. Maskell about whether or not the petitions were actually filed or not with the Board of Elections here. Mr. Aarons participated in the lottery on December 7th, thereby putting himself as part of this whole proceedings there. That lottery that day recognized that the petitions were all effectively filed at 8 in the morning here, and my contention is they were never filed here properly. Ms. Kraft is saying that by the Board of Elections transferring the petitions here in the afternoon, they were filing on behalf of the candidates. So there's an obvious conflict between what this organization, the clerk, the supervisor thought was a filing. Was it at 8 o'clock in the morning or was it in the afternoon?
That concludes your offer of
Yes.
proof?
I never concluded anything about it.
Well,
May I respond to that offer?
Sure.
understand it's just an offer.
Right, I think even if offered as true, there are no allegations whatsoever with respect to the lottery in this particular objector's petition. And again, it has the same infirmities. I'd like to just adopt and incorporate all of my arguments with respect to the last case. With respect to this, if there's not an allegation that they weren't properly filed with the clerk at all during the filing period, if the contention is they were not filed with the clerk and they were required to be at 8 o'clock on Monday morning, we would object to that also, but that's not even an allegation here.
Again, Mr. Aarons has no duties whatsoever under the election code regarding the filing of the petitions or the filing of the nomination petitions or the objection petitions. He has no duties under the statute with respect to the lottery. So the offer of proof, even if it was admitted, I don't think it's relevant to the objection that was made, and it's Ms. Kraft effort is correct that the objection may not be amended.
All right, yes.
Ms. Kraft-Effer has made the same motion in this case that she made in the previous case, and all of your arguments are the same, correct?
That is correct.
Mr. Personic, do you want to respond to the motion to dismiss?
In order to be fair to the public, the residents of Wayne Township, I would like to hear this heard tonight before the public and members here present today. I attended a meeting a couple weeks ago to try and get an explanation of what happened on that Monday with regards to the filings, and the clerk Murphy said I would receive something in the mail explaining it all, and it never came. And I think the public needs to know what happened that day. And I think this hearing, whether or not the petition gets dismissed later on, it would be fair for the public to hear everything that happened about that.
Well, the hearing is about your objection and not about any of that.
Okay.
All right. So there's a motion to dismiss. I'm gonna call the roll again. Joe?
Yes, for the same reasons as previously stated.
Mr. Jackson?
For the same reasons previously stated, I motion to dismiss.
And I concur. I grant the motion to dismiss.
Thank you.
And again, all the same documents will be made of record, the nominating petitions, the objection petition, the call, the documents regarding the service of the call, the appearances that are filed, the briefs that were filed, there's Nate Murphy's notice of refusal, those will all be included as board exhibits.
All right, the next case is Prashant versus Raymond.
You have remanded it, I'll send you to the board the original, 3 copies of my appearance as well as forms of the objector.
I assume the same objection is before us in this case, and I would allow Mr. Prashant to make another statement if he would like to so do so.
And I will send you the original 3 copies of the motion to dismiss, and I would ask that the board accept and incorporate my previous arguments from the first case. We have to submit it, these issues are the same.
Do you want to make a statement at this time?
Sure. I'd like to move that this hearing be delayed so I can run these motions to dismiss by an attorney and get some help with this. These were never presented to me before tonight. So they should have been delivered to me on Good Saturday with the other paperwork.
Would they, anybody like to comment on that?
I would like to respond to that. I don't know that I was even retained by Saturday. I mean, I was served with this and I was hired, and the board just adopted rules that say the parties need to be prepared at the time set by the board. And the parties are supposed to be prepared to proceed at this time.
If you wanted to avail yourself of counsel, you should have had one here.
Well, I believe if there was a counselor here, he would have been given these objection responses prior to today. So do you have any reason why this needs to be settled tonight yourself?
Time is of the essence.
The election code requires that these hearings be conducted with almost immediately, that's why everything's on
I
such short notice.
just asked.
All right. All right, if you have nothing further to add, I think the commission is ready to move on the motion. Yeah, go ahead.
And just so everybody's clear, Ms. Kraft-Heffer, you've adopted your previous arguments regarding your motion to dismiss for this case as well, correct?
Yes.
And Mr. Prashant, the arguments, statements that you made on the previous case, you'd like that to apply to this case as well, is that correct?
Yes, and I have one more request. I think Ms. Kraft during the,
It's Kraft-Heffer.
sorry, expressed something she was gonna enter into documents a copy of the candidate's petition, was that true?
No, I believe the
No,
board
the
is.
board is going to mark as an exhibit the nominating petitions and the objection petition.
Okay.
So that will be in the record.
As the official petition for,
Will be in the record as an exhibit of the petitions, the nominating petitions that were received by the clerk, according to the exhibit to Ms. Krafteffer's motion to receive.
all right, I'd like to note that those petitions, and I received a copy from the Wayne Township clerk, do not show any timestamp that the clerk at Wayne Township received.
Should we allow that?
Well, that's not, the objection is that they were not filed in the correct office, not that they are not timestamped. That's not an objection in the objection petition.
Okay, since it's not part of your objection, it's not relevant. All right, let's move on the objection. I mean, after the motion to dismiss. Joan?
The same vote. So
Mark?
It's the same question.
As there's nothing being presented differently than the other petitions, I also motion to dismiss this.
I also agree that it should be dismissed. All right, this part of the hearing is over.
Ladies and gentlemen of the board,
Mr. Ramey, can you swear him in, please?
Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give in this matter before the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
yes,
Thank you.
Are there any preliminary motions or matters before we get into the objection?
no,
All right.
Mr. Prashant, you
no. Ladies and gentlemen of the board, I am not objecting Mr. Shank being on the ballot. My objection is to his participation in the lottery for ballot placement. In the discussion, when I gave copies to the clerk, each candidate received in the mail from the Board of Elections, DuPage County Election Commission, the process of what happened on Monday, November 21st, 2016. They agreed that there was some confusion as to where to file the petitions. The petitions then were said to be could be accepted by the clerk as being filed at 8 o'clock, could be recommended to be accepted at 8 o'clock. They also suggested and recommended that a affidavit by those candidates be filled out and given to the clerk, Wayne Township clerk, on or before November 28th. My contention is that Mr. Pashanik did not fill out this candidate affidavit and turn it in to the clerk before that date. And so then his reliance on being at the same time does not apply and should not be a part of the lottery for ballot placement.
Mr. Prashanik, would you like to respond?
Is he all done with his cases, or
No,
just?
I'm sorry.
he's going to call any witnesses.
Do you want to call any witnesses, Mr. Rainey?
Not at this time.
Do you want, so you can, Mr. Prashanik, would you like to respond to his objection?
Sure. Sure, I received this in the mail. It says the objection.
Can I interrupt? Remember, you're still under oath. Remember
Yes.
that.
The objection was received by the Wayne Township Clerk at 4:40 p.m. on Monday, December 5th, 2016. Is that a true statement, Mr. Rainey? Did you
Yes.
file at that time? All right. How was that possible? Because I was here and I did not see you that day.
I didn't see you either.
Okay. You said that because I didn't file by the 28th, I should be disqualified?
I did not say that.
Okay. When did I get the notice from the clerk here and from DuPage County Election Commission?
The letter that was addressed to me was dated November 23rd, 2016.
Would it surprise you if I got the letters from those, both your clerk and the DuPage County Election Commission on December 3rd?
No?
Okay. I would like to call Ms. Murphy as a witness now, please.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me take a seat up.
Members, raise your right hand, please. You solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. Thank you.
Ms. Murphy, it says here that the objection was received by the Wayne Township Clerk at 4:40 p.m., Monday, December 5th, 2016. Is that a true statement? Very top line.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you remember receiving the objections that day from Mr. Maskow and myself?
Yes.
What time did you receive the objections from us?
At 4:40.
4:40. Was there anybody else here at that time?
No.
Okay. When did Mr. Ramey, I mean, the document says 4:40, but was he really here at 4:40?
No.
What time was he here?
Shortly afterward.
Can you be more specific?
Truthfully, it's close to the same time that it came in, so it
Well, who else was present that day
Cindy.
when we were here? Cindy?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you remember some Wayne Township sheriffs being here?
Yes, I do.
Okay. What time were they held here till?
I'm not sure what time they were here.
All right. What time did you leave that day?
I can't remember what time it was.
Were you here that day to
Yes.
receive objections?
Yes.
All day?
Well, no, not all day.
When did you come in?
When I was called that you were here.
Approximately what time was that?
Nobody was called about 4:20, 4:15.
Okay. That's all from Ms. Murphy. I'd like to call the admin, Cindy. I'm not sure of her last name. Have a witness?
Please raise your hand, please. You solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. Thank you.
First of all, Cindy, I apologize for putting you through this. I upset you that day when we came in. Okay. You want to read that first line and verify what it says there? About what time and date the objection was filed?
Yes.
Okay. What time did I come in? Do you remember that day?
It was around 4:28.
Okay. And do you remember what I asked you that day?
You asked if Clerk Murphy was here.
Right, and what was your response?
I said no, she works on Tuesdays, but if you need to reach her, I did not know who you were. I said I could call her,
Okay. And you called her.
which I did, yeah,
You were upset that day too, right?
because you were photographing
I was
me.
videotaping you.
Yes.
Okay. The videotape showed 4:27 when I reviewed that.
Okay,
And after you came back, you said April would be here and take how long?
about 10 minutes.
10 minutes, right?
And I left.
And you left then?
I left.
So you have no idea what happened?
One at a time.
Okay.
I'm sorry, and you left.
Yeah. And then you left, so you weren't here to witness anything after that?
My day's over at 4:30.
All right. Is that typical then? You leave and
Yes.
leave the building open? Okay.
Yes.
That's it for this witness. I'd like to submit into evidence this receipt for filing election documents. This was sent to me by April Murphy in that same packet of mail I received on December 3rd. It clearly states that she was acknowledging that my petitions and all my paperwork were in at 8 o'clock on 11/21.
Show that to Mr. Ramey.
Yes. I received the same document.
Do you have an objection to that being admitted into evidence?
I do not.
Okay?
On that basis, I'd like to make a motion that this objection be dismissed, clearly stating here that your clerk recognized that I did have the paperwork in. Second of all, there was never any documentation that I received anything requiring anything else from the clerk. Thirdly, Mr. Ramey really did not submit an objection. He sent a letter to the clerk. It's not properly legally formatted, cites no statutes of what he's claiming should be enforced. I respectfully ask that this be rejected and dismissed.
Maybe see that too. Maybe see that also.
The objection, we should have a copy of the objection.
I have a copy of this.
I mean, yeah,
This doesn't tell me.
no, I mean, the actual objection.
No.
Proper response?
No.
All right.
Do you have any response to any of the points that Mr. Personic made?
I do. You made mention of the timing by the clerk. Again, these were based on recommendations from the DuPage County Election Commission. And the recommendations also provided that the affidavit be filled out and turned in before that date. Since no affidavit was ever turned in, I asked the clerk before the lottery of my objection to his participation, in which the response was that the objection would be heard the same as the other objections, which I answered that is fine. So in this discussion, the point is that since he did not follow procedure, then regardless of what happened before, since he did not follow this procedure, he should not participate in the lottery process.
So to sum up, your argument is procedural.
Yes, sir. It's always about the process.
All right, Brian,
Well,
do you want to make,
May I respond to that again or not?
well, we've gone back and forth, I mean,
Well, he made some points there that weren't actually true, so I would like to respond.
go ahead, I'm not,
Okay. Once again, Mr. Ramey's assuming I got anything with instructions that an affidavit needed to be filed here. There is no proof I ever received anything like that. Ms. Murphy sent me an envelope with the receipt that was in there and some other paperwork. No affidavit, no instructions on what needed to happen. Plus, there is no law governing that you must submit an affidavit there. If there was, did every candidate that day have to submit an affidavit as to what happened with their petitions? And I say it was not. It was only directed to 3 of the candidates, and that would not be fair if we didn't require all the candidates to submit an affidavit as to the time and place their petitions were filed, along with proof that they actually were asked to do that. Thank you.
And in response, the proof was that the county told the clerk that all petitions were to be sent and turned in at the county. The clerk advised me of this when I asked her of that. I asked her a couple of times. She said she checked 3 times all petitions were to be turned in at the county, which is what I did. And the timestamp on my petition states 8 o'clock. Mr. Pachonic's timestamp says 8:58 at the county. So he obviously knew that it was supposed to get there somehow and did turn them in over there. Then these letters that were sent out by the county were sent out via certified mail, which I signed for, and I know all other candidates received these very same letters. As he stated, yes, only 3 people would have to fill out these affidavits because those were the 3 people that attempted to turn in their petitions here, but were told to turn them in to the county, which then means I was not required to fill out an affidavit. Only those who were turned away from the township needed to turn in the affidavit to verify that they attempted at 8 o'clock at the township.
Now, I would like to respond again. Fair is fair.
Well,
Okay. Mr. Raymond, do you have any proof that I was served a registered letter from the county?
I don't need proof.
Do you have any proof that I was served a registered letter from your Wayne Township clerk?
I do not need proof.
And for the record, I researched where the petition should be filed that day and ascertained it was at the township. I had a representative here, as did Mr. Maskow, and the other person to file at 8 o'clock in the morning and was refused service by your clerk, who didn't arrive until 8 o'clock that day. So then she was directed, the person representing us, to go to the DuPage County, which she did, but she first attempted to file here legally and was refused service by your clerk, who wasn't here at 8 o'clock as state law required also. So I would like all of that as part of the record, and I think that will be it for me.
all right, do you have anything to add?
Yes, the election code does not require the affidavit that the DuPage County Election Commission suggested that the candidates submit. There's nothing in the election code that requires that, but the nomination petitions, so the filing of that affidavit or the failure to file that affidavit is irrelevant to the petitions. This letter from April Murphy, dated November 28th, 2016, has been admitted into evidence. Can you see this?
Yes, I agree with that.
Does the board have enough information at this point to rule? We do not have enough. You wanna, we can
I
wait.
do not feel that I have enough information. I would like some information from the election commission.
Well, you want to call your own witnesses?
No, but I thought that we would have an opportunity to receive other information.
What other information are you seeking?
I would like to know if indeed they did send certified letters to all these people at the same time, and if it's not required by Illinois statute, why were they requiring that these three people file an affidavit? What I'd like to know.
We can only speculate as to what the motives of the election commission were.
Can we not do this, Brian?
I think you should rule based on what you have here tonight. I guess really the three of you should.
Would you like
take a
another
vote
piece of
on it.
evidence that would satisfy Ms.
Well,
No.
the chair will have to decide whether or not.
No, we wouldn't.
I'm sure you
You
would.
said, because you said you were done, and I'll take you at your word.
Well, I'm sure she's seen this too, so I made a reminder that she did get some proof as part of this.
And my recommendation would be that we vote on it tonight if we can. What you're suggesting is continuing the hearing and calling someone from the election code, the DuPage Election Commission as a witness. At your own
Okay, then-
behest, not at one of the candidates' behest, which frankly is highly unusual. But
Then
I guess it wouldn't be prohibited.
let me ask again, you say that the state statute does not require.
Right, the election code does not require that anybody file the affidavit with their nominating petitions that the election commission requested, apparently, people to file. And the election commission, the DuPage Election Commission can't change the election code. They don't get to make the rules, the statute. And there's no statute that requires that affidavit.
So there's no relevance in finding out whether we can, he received we can go to the election commission, see, and get the copy of, that he received it, but what Brian's telling you, there's no relevance to that.
Okay.
Is that fair?
Yes.
I think we can rule on this matter. Based on Brian's information that there's nothing in the election code that requires an affidavit, I'm gonna call the members of the commission, do the roll call vote. Joan, I guess what I'm asking for is dismissal. Let's be, well, we can do a non-dismissal acceptance.
You're ruling on
Whether we should,
Mr. Ramey's petition, whether his
we should accept his petition. Go ahead.
Whether the objection is
Yeah.
overruled or sustained.
All right.
I would say it's overruled.
I would say that it would be overruled. Mark?
No, sir, it's overruled.
So Mr. Ramey's objection is overruled and